live.
Let's do it. Boom.
Boom. Friends, good evening. Good evening. Get that open. Boom. Life is good. Life is golden. Get my pastor pals. Pastor pals. That's what the theme song should sound like, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Reverend East?
Absolutely. I want that for my ringtone. So every time I get a text, it's just going to be Landon shouting, "Pastor pals,
Pastor pals, friends, welcome. It's Tuesday night. It's 6:30. You know what that means? Pastor pals, Pastor pals." Oh, it's good to have you with us. Let us know that you're here. If you are here, if nobody's here, Michael, it's just going to be you and I talking at each other for a half an hour, which, I mean, that's just riveting quality content.
It is. A lot of stuff people don't want to see, so it's probably good they're not here anyway.
There we go. Friends, it is good to welcome our friend from down the highway, just down the highway. That's right. Just what, 20 minutes away?
20 minutes.
20 minutes away, Reverend Michael East from First Presbyterian Church in Norman. Michael, thank you for taking time on a Tuesday night to come and join Pastor Pals.
No, I'm excited to be a pastor pal.
No, you didn't say it right, Michael. You didn't say it right, buddy.
Well, I'm afraid my wife is watching. That's why I'm not going to, get a clip-worthy piece in here.
Oh, okay. I will accept that. I too like to not be embarrassed in front of my spouse.
Yeah,
it's quite fun. Oh, we got some friends here. Michelle's here. Erin Hensley's here. Geraldine's here. She's just in the other room, but she's here as well. Susie's here. Susie, you were fourth. Michael, Susie Graves says hello on morning prayers. She's first every single morning. It's how we know that, right? The sun rises in the east, and Susie says hello first on morning prayers. That's the way it is. Geraldine is imploring me to stop saying Pastor Pals. I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all. Friends, Michael and I actually know one another. I made a joke with Josh Kerr, Reverend Josh Kerr, our first pastor pal, that he and I go way back. But Michael and I actually do go way back. We met over a decade ago. We were both green, and we showed up in Minneapolis at the 219th General Assembly. I got the honor of a lifetime of being confirmed as the vice moderator of that General Assembly. And Reverend East, right over here, was the co-moderator of the Young Adult Advisory Delegates.
That's pretty fantastic.
What a mistake.
Man, I don't know what those youth delegates were thinking. Woo.
They were thinking, here is a person who is confident and speaks well and in complete sentences. Let's make him the co-moderator.
That's actually not true, because when we introduced ourselves in that giant banquet hall, when we stood for those positions, I said something like, "Hey, y'all, I'm Michael. I'm from the great state of Oklahoma, and I rode my horse here to Minneapolis."
You did not.
I did. God, man, I'm glad no one filmed that. That's it. That was embarrassing. And somehow, that's how we met.
They must have seen something in you, Michael.
Only by the grace of God.
You know what? That is not a lie. There, but by the grace of God, go we. So, Michael, that was a good decade ago. What? Tell me about your life at that point. What was happening in your life, and how did you become a pastor, sir?
Yeah. So at that point in my life, it was the summer before I was going to head off down the highway to Columbia Theological Seminary in Atlanta to begin my seminary studies. And so I thought I knew a lot, and then I showed up to the General Assembly, and everyone informed me how little I knew.
Sounds like my experience. Yes.
But I got to the General Assembly in part because I'd wanted to be a pastor for a long time. I had two two ministers in my life, in my home congregation over in Sapulpa, who at an early age said, Michael, we think you might have gifts, you might have a call to ministry. Let's see where that takes us.
Mm.
And so they allowed me to be in leadership positions. They let me preach. They let me do, again, a lot of things they should not have done. But it was really people around me telling me, hey, you might have a gift for this. And so that was my plan for a very long time. So I went to college based on that plan at Austin College. Went to Columbia Seminary off the advice of my father's pastor, who said, wherever you do your undergraduate work, go to the other side of the country and experience something different.
That's
and
nice.
So I did.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to hear somebody say, there's something that I see inside of you? Did you see it yourself, or did you have to just take them at their word?
I think when they mentioned it, like a lot of those things started to connect. Like I do like teaching. I do like being around people. The scriptures are pretty cool. I like to read those and talk about them. I like our form of government. I like sort of the messiness of polity. And so it was when they said, have you thought about this, that all those things came together.
Nice. So this last month, at least at Westminster, we've been doing a series on calling and discipleship. We've been talking through the lectionary passages and asking what they have to say to us about the way God's calling us and our discipleship. One of the things that we've hit pretty hard is the reality that calls are not just calls to ministry, but calls to discipleship are calls to do particular things at particular times in particular places. What kind of experience do you have in talking to congregation members that you get to serve, either here or where were you before? Nashville, was that right?
South Carolina. So
I was
in Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah.
So when you think about either your ministry in Norman or your ministry in Columbia, getting the honor of really walking with people as they're discerning different things in your life, what have you found to be helpful in talking to them about their own calls to ministry?
Yeah. I think the first is a sort of demythicize calls, because even in the Presbyterian tradition, where we say that we don't have laity, where everyone is called, that doesn't always come across. And so what I found is when we use that language, people go, well, I could never be a pastor. I could never get up there and preach. And so a lot of it is talking to folks about, well, what are you already doing? What are you already passionate about? I read something or heard something, gosh, I remember who it was who said it, but they said, if you're a second grade school teacher, your call is to be the best damn second grade school teacher you can possibly be. And that is just as worthy, maybe even more so, than the guy or lady who jumps into the pulpit every week and offers some kind of word.
Yeah. A few years ago, Geraldine, my wife, was ordained as a deacon, and our boys were asking, what's a deacon? And so it was fun because I was like, John Calvin calls deacons the face of Christ, and they teach us how to care for one another, and they care for us. And a lot of times deacons lead us in missions work. And I go through this whole thing, and I'm like, I tell Bible stories. Like, that's the difference here, right?
Right.
I suspect that you and I share a disposition in that when people find out that you're a pastor, you're like, yeah, but I'm not that kind of pastor.
Exactly.
Right. What has it been like? Because I consider myself, I guess I'm not a young adult anymore, but I'm youngish, and you're younger than I am. What is it like being connected to the institutional church? Like, if you were on the floor of Presbytery today asking, can I be a pastor? My question on the floor of Presbytery to you would be, what are you thinking? Like, what is wrong with you? Why would you even want to do this? Why be connected to the church in this day and age? What's appealing about that to you?
Yeah, I think, why I'm a pastor is because particularly the stories of Scripture still speak to me. The traditions of our church, while not perfect, are really beautiful and worth holding on to.
Right.
So we celebrated communion Sunday here at First Norman. And when I serve at the table, I always think, we say it in our liturgy, but I always think of all those people who have been at that table before. So my dad, who's no longer with us, there's some cool, magical, spirit-filled way that we are reconnected again in that sacrament. The people who raised me in the faith, those saints show up again at the table. There is something powerful about the church that has this way to literally change the world. And that's something I want to be a part of. And I walk into the office every day just excited to be able to be part of that. Even just like this tiny little piece for this small moment in time, I get to say I had a part in that.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. Yeah, when the people of God come together and say with conviction, we are the people of God, I think that something magical happens. I really do. Really do.
And to confess, we're not perfect at this. We are going to screw this up royally a lot, but there's something bigger happening even in that messiness.
Yeah. So I read somewhere, maybe it was either Rich Mullins or C.S. Lewis. I seem to be dipping into C.S. Lewis a lot right now. Weird, I know. But I think one of those two said, the church is the only organization you get to be a part of because you're not perfect. Like that's why you get to be a part of this thing. Is for that. Friends, here in a few minutes we're gonna take questions if you have them. You got two church nerds right here. You can play Stump the Chumps. Try to punk the pastor pals. That's what it is. Punk the pals is what it is. Michael, you got a lot of fans on the Facebook chat right now. Sarah Bolding says hi.
Happy birthday, Sarah.
There we go. Ding, 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 ding. So we're getting ready to, my audio is sounding a little funky tonight. Am I sounding funky to you, Michael?
I hear you okay, but that's just me.
Let me see what's going on. I wonder if, let me try this.
Let me try that.
Ooh.
Is that better?
That's very like studio quality.
Oh, heavens. Look at that. Sarah, how was that? Tell me if that sounds better to you there. Holy cow, that sounds a little better to me even. Much better. Thank you. Thank you for troubleshooting. Birthday girl, troubleshooting. Fantastic. We're getting ready to enter into Lent. What's going to be the focus of your preaching and your education stuff? We're going to do spiritual disciplines. So we've now gone through calling and discipleship. We're going to move into some spiritual disciplines throughout Lent. What are you all going to focus on down at First Norman?
Nice. So we're going to use Sanctified Art's really good resources on this theme again and again.
Sanctified Art is phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Really stellar stuff because they not only do great stuff, but they come to the rescue of pastors who say, you know what, I'm not going to take a week or two to try and plot out a sermon series. They say, here you go, adapt it as you need. So I'm grateful for them.
Yes. I'd love to have Lyle on. Lyle Gwynn Garrity, one of the founders of Sanctified Art. I'd love to have Lyle on Pastor Pals sometime. She's just remarkable.
Yeah, she would be great. But so we're gonna use that. One of the things I'm really excited about is their prayer wall art installation. Members of our team were just putting that together today, and we're actually going to put it at Second Wind Coffee Shop, the nonprofit that First Pres also runs and supports. And so we're going to encourage our college students to add their prayers along with the folks here in the congregation to maybe mix and mingle in a COVID safe way to share their prayers together.
Yeah, that's nice. So what is the when Sanctified Art put out their Lenten series or their Lenten focus, what's kind of the snapshot of that? What's some of the focus that you're going to be dealing with?
That's a great question. So that's what tomorrow I will be doing is working through all of that.
You're like, bro, is it Lent yet? Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah, come on, man. I still have like Transfiguration Sunday to get through. Uh,
Oh,
no,
isn't that just the way it works right now, though? Like, seriously. Several folks were like, hey, what do you want to do for Easter? And I'm like, no. I'm not doing
whoa.
Easter yet. No, I can't.
Yes. So, Pastor Pal's recap on Thursday, I might have better answers for you.
Oh, that's what we do. Yep. We need to have a talking about Pastor Pal's show like they do on AMC.
That's right.
Susie Graves wants to know what drew you to Norman. Why'd you come to Norman, buddy?
Well, so a couple of things.
It was the colors, wasn't it? It was the crimson, right?
It was the crimson and cream. No.
If y'all go to Michael's office, you will see he's got a poke right outside of his office, and it's quite funny.
Yeah, which is always great conversation around here. It wasn't for the football. No, more than anything, I knew some of the people. So I was a longtime staff member at Dwight Mission Summer Camp. And so a lot of my campers, a lot of staff members were from First Norman. And so I sort of knew who they were and what it was about.
Right.
I saw the opportunity that exists here at Norman. We're 175 yards from 30,000 plus students, faculty, staff.
Mission field.
Yeah. And a really cool neighborhood that is Campus Corner that we had talked about being a part of, but really hadn't made that real yet. And so I was really excited about an opportunity to be part of a congregation that when we said we're part of the Campus Corner neighborhood, we really become sort of the heart of this part of town. And so that's what we're working on right now.
Wow.
We also had a son was born while we were in South Carolina, and all our families here. And they said, gosh, it sure would be nice if you guys came to Oklahoma. So God put all those things together. Yeah.
And don't discount. I was talking to somebody about that today. Like, place is very important. I was actually talking to someone about their discernment today, and one of the things that we talked about was place and how important place is as a part of discernment. And when I was in seminary, I had a friend of mine who was from the Birmingham area, and he said, I'm going to go back to Birmingham, and we all gave him crap for that. Like, what are you talking about? But he had a sense of himself, and he had a sense of himself in a place, and he understood his connection to that place. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad, right? Sometimes it doesn't work. I served in my home region, the Kansas City region, for 15 years, and it was so simple. Like, I knew those folk like the back of my hand because they're me, right? They're who I was. And then there's something else that's kind of beautiful about now coming here to the Oklahoma City area, where I'm learning the newness of this place. And in some ways, that's also an advantage to be kind of not a kid from around. So when you were thinking about coming back to Oklahoma, was that a draw for you of the fact that you know what this is, you know who these people are?
Yeah, there was a way in which I felt that I could say things that maybe another pastor couldn't say.
Right.
Because these were my people.
Yeah.
Some of these were my campers. And so I've seen them grow up, both sort of physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so we can have, we immediately have something in common, and there's some capital there that we can spend. Whereas a new pastor coming in would have to build that up before really being able to utilize it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that capital that you can spend. Yeah, there's something about being able to speak somebody's language that just cuts right to the heart of it. I like to tell people all the time, like, the fact that I grew up in a more conservative evangelical Christian tradition, I find it really easy to talk to folks that also either are a part of that tradition or have come out of that tradition, because there's a language just that we both know, and we can trade some of those. We can trade some of those things.
Yeah.
Let's see. Aaron Hensley wants to know favorite memory from Dwight. We should change the name of this from Pastor Pals to Dwight Mission Pals.
Yeah, just Dwight stories.
Dwight stories.
Oh man, like so many immediately come to mind, but ones I'm also not allowed to say. Currently being streamed on Facebook Live. No, okay. Honestly, so my favorite memory, probably by far, is the first day I met my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time.
Good answer, though. Good answer.
Yeah, I had just come in from town doing a grocery run in one of the old sort of camp pickup trucks. It was new staff member day, so they had all gathered together. I had a clown wig on and a bullhorn in the passenger seat.
Oh, mercy.
And I thought she had her back to me. I thought she was one of my former campers. And so I pulled out the bullhorn and shouted, "Shelby sucks." And she turned around, and that was not Shelby. That was Miss Katie Hodge. And one of the girls next to her said, "That's Michael. He's a jerk. Don't talk to him."
Oh heavens! Wow.
And now we're married, and we're happily married in the Westminster Sanctuary, and have 2 kids, and love each other very much. So that's how it all started. Thank you, Dwight Mission.
Wow. When Geraldine and I met, I had shaved my head bald and I had sunburned. So kind of like a clown wig, right? Similar to the clown wig. I actually have experience at Dwight Mission. We know, actually my lovely bride, Geraldine, were you ever at Dwight, and did you ever see the theater team from Sterling College? Did the Sterling College theater team, summer theater team, ever come back? So we went to Sterling College in the middle of Kansas. And every summer we were a part of there was a drama ministry team. I was 1 year, Geraldine was actually another year. And we would go through Oklahoma, and we actually both performed at Dwight Mission there 1 week. It was quite lovely. Jean asks, I notice on your shelf, what does "who cares, we care" mean?
Oh, so in South, speaking of discipleship, so in South Carolina, one of the things that I did was taught disciple Bible study out of the Methodist traditions, their curriculum. Really love it. So in 34 weeks, we went Genesis to Revelation. We covered the whole thing.
Wow.
And I sort of took a different approach. Rather than doing like, what does this story mean to you? We did a lot of historical research and said, what would have meant to the first hearers? How does like the Gilgamesh epics and Babylon influence how we read Genesis? All the stuff that's really interesting to us, but not really to anyone else. And
you calling us nerds?
Yes.
Okay.
And so one of the very sweet church members, Mary Ann, at the end of every Bible study session would say, "Michael, this is great, but who cares?" And her husband was a woodworker. And so one class, she brought this in just as a joke. She was also in the last class that I taught before I announced that I was moving here to Norman. And so in my last class, she brought me the "we care."
Oh.
And I'm a big crier, so I bawled during that class. So those 2 things sit on my shelf as a reminder of the good people at Forest Lake Presbyterian Church, but also as a reminder to sort of say, sometimes what I care about, no one else does. And that's okay. So that's the great long story behind those 2 pieces of art.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I also noticed you've got a nice John Calvin bobblehead up there, which makes me giddy. Former state clerk of the General Assembly, Grady Parsons, as you know, had a John Calvin bobblehead.
Oh,
Sarah wants to know that we are definitely nerds, but we are the best kinds of nerds.
That's good.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. When you think about talking to folks about their own callings to ministry, if you had to kind of boil it down into like, here's kind of the first thing you need to look at, what would you say to folks as they're trying to discern maybe where God is taking them generally, or in this next phase of life? What is the advice you usually give to folk?
Yeah, I don't think this is particularly like new or creative, but I think it's true. what's the thing that you're really passionate about? What's the thing that makes you really angry at the world? And those two things together tend to sort of lead you in a direction. So if you're, really angry about homelessness, maybe there's a calling there to address those needs in your community. Was it? I'm a butcher. It's Parker Palmer, where, oh gosh,
Your greatest passion on the world's greatest need.
that's right.
Nerd.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember it. I remember hearing quotes in school, but I don't always remember the quotes, which is why I need people like you.
Yeah, that's good. Passions are really, really important. Definitely. I also like to point out, and as I was, speaking with this friend of mine today about their own discernment, I think also just recognizing who you are and like what your personality brings to a certain situation.
Yeah.
So, I know that our spouses are, taking part of the Enneagram experience on a weekly basis. So that's kind of a conversation that we have in our house a lot of the time. I'm a 5. And so, thinking, a 3, nice. So thinking about conceptual architecture, thinking about all the ways that things, of course I like theology. Of course I do. I mean, it's this gigantic system that I can sit back and I can dissect and I can pick apart, right? That's indicative of maybe something in my life. And then I think about, I think I've said this maybe on Pastor Pals before, one of our kids who's a very justice-minded individual, we suspect, for Enneagram nerds, we suspect probably a 1. And I told him, like, I don't know what God's got for you in your life, but it's going to have something to do with making sure that you are standing up for those that no one else will stand up for. It could be in any number of spheres, but that's going to be a part of your life. And I want you to pay attention to that.
Yeah. I had a conversation with one of our longtime members. She just happened to pop in the door the other day and said, I know I've been doing mission committee stuff forever. My heart hasn't been in it lately. What I'm really passionate about is that when people walk in the door, they feel welcome. So can I move to like a greeter usher team?
Yes, please.
Yes. Like that's
all day, every day.
That's what the kingdom of God needs, is people who are saying, I've sort of moved from this piece, but I really want to do this. People who are passionate are far better ambassadors than the folks who just sort of feel like they have to do this thing that they've always done.
Yeah. There's a certain degree of the calling of God is inconvenient, right? There's a certain degree of that.
Yeah.
Right. It calls us outside of ourselves. It calls us to think about others before ourselves. Absolutely. But I don't think that we're ever, the glory of God is humanity fully alive. If you are not living into those passions and those gifts that you've got, forget about it. Like just stay home. Like there's no point, because all I'm going to do is wear you out, right? Mm-hmm. All you're going to do is be worn out, and nobody's going to be edified for that. Yeah. If there was one thing that you're like, oh man, I would love it if the church could do this thing. Like what's kind of your big passion? What's the big thing you want to impact the world? Mine is I'm all about metanoia. Like I want people to see the world in new ways. If I could make sure everybody walked away from a conversation or a sermon or a class going, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Like, I'm pleased as punch. It just makes me so happy. And so I of course want the Westminster community to be a part of those kinds of things. What about you? What jazzes you?
Yeah, I think 2 things come to mind. And one is sort of the benediction that I use every Sunday is, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, that you are loved by Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Because I really believe people who truly know that they are loved and cared for are the people who are going to change the world.
Yeah, amen.
And so that I get really excited about people knowing their love and then wanting to do something because of that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Steve Jobs talks about the crazy ones. And I think disciples and followers of Jesus Christ really are the crazy ones who can and will change the world. And so that's what I'm passionate about, and I want to be a part of, changing the world.
Amazing. Like look at how the 2 things that you and I have said, just to glom onto the Enneagram for another second, like a 5 and a 3, right?
Yeah.
I want you to see the world in a different way because I want to see the world in new and different ways. You want everyone to know that they're loved because as a 3, you want to know, regardless of whether or not I'm perfect, I'm loved, right?
Yes.
It's so connected to who we are, right? It's so connected to who we are. And everything is like that. Everything is like that. It's kind of amazing. Michael, my friend, thank you for taking a half an hour on a Tuesday evening to chat with me.
Blast.
Well, it's so gracious of you to spend your time. I hope your Transfiguration Sunday is glorious. I hope you dazzle brightly like the sun.
Actually, I think we're going to use red. We're going to ordain and install some officers on Sunday. So we're mixing it up.
Get out! That's fantastic. Yeah. That is fantastic. Well, have a blessed Lent. As my friend, our choir director likes to quote an old pastor that she worked for. You know, Lent is such a downer.
It is.
I hope that your Lent is such a downer, Michael. I hope that
Thank
you really understand the lack, so that when we get to resurrection, the fullness just comes all to the fore.
Remember, you are dust, but you're lovely dust, but you're still dust.
One last story. One of my friends from seminary, the same guy who was called back to Alabama. I think about this every Ash Wednesday. He's like, you know what? I think the best thing to say to imposition is not, mortal, you are dust, and dust you shall. Is just, sucker, you gonna die. Like, that's just what it's gonna be. Like, let's all come to grips with this. Like, this is what we are. We're just these sacks of skin. I love it. All right, my friend. Have a great evening. It was great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.